Hey. Yeah, you. Listening. Right now. You're in the right place. Hang out a moment. And welcome to Club Grief. Ashes. Ashes to ashes. And dust to dust. That's about all I know. Yeah. It's Club Grief. Okay. This episode, this chapter is called Ashes, simply because I just picked up my wife's ashes. And I'm looking at I guess you could call it one of those reusable shopping bags with the name of the cremation place on the outside. And inside is a box of my wife's ashes. So basically, a lifetime in a body is reduced to a box of ashes. Or it could have been a body rotting in a box somewhere underground. Speaking of which, when we lost my father in 1991, I remember at the funeral home, them trying to sell us this $25,000 casket. And just so you know, my father, he was one of the cheapest human beings ever. Or as my mother would say to defend him, he's just being frugal. But in my mother's case, she was always very generous. She was never frugal. She would help her children out no matter what it took. Because basically, she was always working. I mean, she worked since she was 16. She told me she graduated high school at 16 in 1950. Yeah, 1950, I said, after the war. And she got a job at, I think, AT&T as a switchboard operator. And kind of in the same idea, I'd been working since I was 12 years old. The first job I got was a dishwasher at my mother's restaurant where she worked. She was a Holiday Inn outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the United States of America. And I just wanted to work. So she got me in to work in the restaurant of the Holiday Inn as a dishwasher, using my older brother's name, who was 3 years older than me, so it didn't seem like child labor. And instead of paying me a paycheck, they would just add on my pay to my mother's paycheck. And actually, I liked it. I had a great time. I got to know the older guys. I was 12. They were 16, 17, maybe 18. I got to wash pots. I got to meet the cooks, who were always really nice to me. I got to meet the waitresses who, when I turned 13 and hit puberty, I kind of had crushes on, and they were always nice to me too. And another cool thing about the place, the Holiday Inn Hotel outside of Philadelphia, was that many bands who came through Philadelphia and played at venues such as the Spectrum would stay at the hotel. And sometimes my mother would get an autograph from them. And a couple, or one I do remember, Carlos Santana, they would just be sitting in the sandwich shop. In my mother's position, she worked in the pantry, making sandwiches for the sandwich shop and the restaurant itself. And it was always busy. And then one time, I actually got to work in the pantry one night when my mother was off, and I just had a great time. And again, now this is back in the 70s. This would have been, I'd say 1972, 1973. So, what a memory. Anyway, so my father, what ended up is that I looked over in the corner, saw this cheap tin box for $5,000. Yeah, $5,000, not $25,000. And so we went with that. And look, he's gone. He doesn't know. I've heard that saying, what is it? Funerals are for the living, not for the dead. So, yeah, and he was going to be put in that and then transported to Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C., because he was a Army member of the United States Military Army. He was a sergeant and had great memories being a Army rat. So, I do digress. Let's get back to picking up my wife's ashes today. And there they are in a box. And I said there's a little reusable shopping. I'm laughing because it's a reusable shopping bag that they have made popular probably in the last 5-10 years with the name of the cremation place on it. And I'm just tempted in some kind of dark humor that I had is using that reusable shopping bag to actually go shopping, like in a supermarket. I just want to see the reactions on people's faces when I take that shopping bag, my reusable bag, and say, "Oh no, I don't need a bag. I brought my own bag," and see the looks on their faces. So maybe I'll share that with you too. Now, when it came to my mother and her burial and her ashes, I was across the country, the United States. I was in Los Angeles, California. She was back in Philadelphia, and another member of my family, as the primary executor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, handled all that. And she was cremated. My mother really never discussed being cremated. I think she wanted to be buried, but again, I wasn't the executor of the state, so I had no decision in that. But I believe, or I really don't know, honestly, where her ashes ended up. Supposedly, since she was married to my father, she would have been put next to him or in the ground above him, whatever, in Arlington National Cemetery. I did get a tiny little urn, a very small urn, I don't know how to describe it, maybe about 3 inches high and very decorative, sealed with her ashes in there. I guess I could have opened it up, but I didn't. So what I did with it, if I haven't told you already here in Club Grief, is since the last 2 years of my father's military, his Army career was spent in Honolulu, actually Waikiki on the site of Diamond Head Crater, living there for 2 years. For me, from age 8 to age 10, I went back there in 2021 in July, and I took the urn with me, and it was during the pandemic, and it made it through TSA and all those things, and I decided on that trip, which I hadn't been on a trip in such a long time, I decided that I would take her little urn of ashes that I got, and in some symbolic gesture, go around Honolulu to the places that I remember that we shared together, such as where we used to live, which is now, they leveled all the Army housing up on the boulevard on the side of Diamond Head Crater there, and there's, I think, a cooking school up there now. But here's the thing, on the corner where we used to live, there's still this large tree that I remember playing under. And gosh, how long that meant? 50 years ago? Whew, that's a little scary when you think about that. So we're 50 years ago to play under this tree on the corner there. So if you're ever back in Honolulu and you take Diamond Head Crater up, and there's a road that goes into the crater if you're driving up from King Kamehameha Boulevard, I think it is, right at Waikiki, and the Shell, you'll pass all those places like that. You drive up the hill, and there's a large tree on the corner. You make a right, and you go into the crater itself. And so what I did is, and that's where we used to live. So if you go back there and see that, that's where I used to live. So I took it on a little tour, and I took it to Leonard's Bakery, where my mother used to buy our birthday cakes, and where a stranger in a car next to me, while my mother was inside getting a cake, started talking to me out of just, I don't know who he was, and he just started talking to me. And then when my mother came out, she asked if I knew that gentleman, and the man said no. It was like, no, I'm just talking to your little girl, because my hair was long, and look, it was the 60s, and I had long hair, and I was cute. And if you want to know more information about that whole scenario, I have another podcast called Growing Up White. It's weird. And yeah, it was weird. But anyway, so I took it to Leonard's Bakery. Then I took it down to where she used to work she used to work at the Hilton, I believe. And then she also, she worked at many jobs there. And then one of her favorite places to go was the International Marketplace in downtown Honolulu. And then I took the urn out to other places like Waikiki Beach, where I learned how to surf, kind of a beatable surfboard, but I would surf the waves at Waikiki Beach after school. And then she would come down with a towel and wave a little towel and say, hey, that means it's time to come in. I just have memories of her doing that. And so, yeah, and what I did is I took pictures of where we used to be, and the urn, even Ala Moana Shopping Center, which was the largest shopping center at that time. And it was kind of amazing. And there was a place we used to get Chinese food, Patty's Kitchen all the time. And then what I did is, and this might be illegal, so I cannot confirm or deny that I really did this. I was staying at the Hilton, I think Hilton Village. And I had my snorkel gear on, which is some fins, a mask, and a snorkel. And I swam out about 50 feet, and there's a little reef there, which is kind of beautiful. And it's maybe about 25 feet deep. And you go beyond the reef, and it's not as deep. It's maybe about 20 feet deep. And the water, of course, if you've been to Waikiki, is simply gorgeous. So what I did is there's a reef there, and I swam down to the bottom, and I placed her little urn of ashes that I got at the bottom of the reef in the sand, and there's this beautiful little emerald green kind of urn with her ashes in it as a symbolic gesture. So yeah, there it was, and I put her ashes down there, my mother's ashes, and I just said goodbye, and I made a little video of it that I posted somewhere on social media. It's probably out there. Social media, once you put something up there, it's up there forever. So anyway, so that's my mother's and father's. So yeah, so I picked up my wife's ashes, and when I went in there, the funeral director was very nice, and the woman at the front desk was very nice, and they were very cordial, very understanding, and they did everything they could do to help me out with this. So I had a really good, I don't want to say good, but I had a pleasant experience, which could have been a really bad experience. So little warning to everybody out there in Club Grief that either plan ahead or be very, very careful if someone suddenly dies of your responsibilities and the financial burden that's involved with it. I just got lucky and met the right people. And I kept it together. Then I came outside with my little ESA dog George, my little King Charles Cavalier. ESA, if you don't know, means emotional support animal, and he's been there with me for the last 5 years, but especially during this time of loss. And so I lost it. I went outside and I lost it. I just thought a lifetime just in this little box. And yeah, I know that's not her. I know it's just this, the remains. Anyway, so, and then what I also get is, if you don't know about this, something called death certificates. And you might or might not know about that. You might have heard about it, but it's a beautiful certificate. It's on some kind of parchment paper, and it's State of California, County of Los Angeles, Department of Public Health. And it just goes on to put in the information that when I contact the mortuary, for example, her father's name, where he's from, her mother's name, where she's from, then my wife, and what her position was, what her career was in screenwriter. She was in entertainment. She went to the HB Studios in New York, which is a pretty famous studio. I think it's the Herbert Berghoff Studio in New York, and it's has some pretty famous alumni. And she was a screenwriter. She got a little scholarship to go there, and she might have spent, this is of course before me, I think maybe 4 or 5 years here. But yeah, she that's where she got her screenwriting, and she was always very talented when it came to screenwriting. Not a lot of credits, but anyway, so I'm looking at this, and it kind of gives the cause of death. And if I haven't mentioned this already, I should tell you about this, that in California, when someone passes, I guess if it's not in a hospital or not suspicious, the coroner doesn't come out. So, and I might have mentioned this in the first episode of Club Grief. I lose my wife. I'm in a state of shock and screaming and yelling, and the police say, okay, got to go Google funeral homes. And like I said, I got lucky. Got a funeral home, and then autopsy. And again, that's, if the coroner picks up the body, then they do an autopsy. That's automatic, from what I understand. That happened with my mother-in-law, and that's another story altogether. So that I might have mentioned that. If not, we can talk about that later. But that was a nightmare in itself, right there. My mother-in-law and the coroner. Anyway, so when it's something you're on your own, believe it or not, there's a 1-800 autopsy or something like that number you can Google, or you can go online, and then and they're extremely expensive. But my daughter said, we have to know, because no one really knew. Her heart doctor didn't know. Her regular doctor didn't know. I mean, she just had blood work done. It was perfect. She had an angiogram, and the doctor said we didn't need to do it, but we went in just in case. So anyway, look, here's the thing. People listening, I know I'm rambling, but this is kind of part of the therapy. I have a psychologist I see each week, and we delve into the therapy and what's going on. I've spoken to a psychiatrist, a NP, I think it's called a nurse practitioner psychiatrist, they are under the care of a certified psychiatrist, and so I talk to them, and I've talked to them often. So I've talked to a lot of people, but I think this Club Grief is another form of therapy. So if I'm rambling on, you'll just kind of understand why. But anyway, so when it came to the autopsy, again, I just got lucky. For some strange reason, on my computer appeared the website for the UCLA Health Network. As I might have mentioned, I'm a motion picture editor, a TV and film editor. I'm part of a union, and being part of the union allows me to get health insurance for my wife, myself, and my daughter. Motion picture industry health, and they're quite wonderful, and everybody associated with them are wonderful. I got more help out of SAG-AFTRA and the other communities, Motion Picture Television Fund, Entertainment Community Fund, that were really, really there. Will Rogers Pioneers. There's an IATSE behind the scenes help that these people are just quite wonderful. And I didn't know what they did until this happened. So anyway, so yes, since I'm working in the industry, I get health. So when it comes to an autopsy, I got lucky because she was a member of the UCLA Health Network and I was a member. She was my dependent, my spouse. They did the autopsy. The heart doctor requested, and it gives you cause of death and what they think it is, and it's like one or two other things there. And yeah, so I'm looking at that. It's a beautiful certificate. They cost about $25 each, and I got 5 of them that you have to use for all the business stuff that you have to deal with when it comes to losing your spouse and being responsible. One tip I did find out: if you do get death certificates, don't order too many. They told me some people order 10 and they just sit around having extras. And look, look. What are you going to do with a death certificate if you don't need it? You just kind of sit and look at it. That's really nice. I paid $25 for this nice piece of work on parchment. So I got 5. And what the key is that if you go, say you go into a bank and say the bank, my wife passed away, I need to tidy up her financial, whatever assets, and you don't give them one. You say, make a copy of it and then give me the original. You never give them away to certain people if you go there in person. Some places, I guess, you do need to give a physical copy. But like I said, I have 5. So 1 definitely I keep, and 4 I can give out. Or what I'll do is I'll just make copies of them. They used to call them photocopies years ago, but now I can just scan it on my personal printer here at home. And actually, do you remember when personal printers came out? It's kind of amazing that they're so easy now, and then technology has caught up so much. But anyway, so I can do that, or I can take a screenshot of it or a picture of it with my iPhone, and then crop it and send it out also. So you get your ashes, or whatever. Say you are getting ashes like I did. Get your ashes and you get your death certificates, and then you continue on doing the business that's all part of losing someone. So again, this is Club Grief. You are here with me. I'm here with you. There's a lot more to talk about, and I'll see you next time.